Hi everybody, welcome. We are going to have some Procreate painting tonight. Just some mellow music and painting with a little Procreate on the iPad. So I'm going to go right to the overhead camera without further ado, and we will do a little abstract landscape painting. How about that? Okay. All right, let's go to the overhead camera. We're in Procreate, and I'm going to grab my pencil and oops, let's close that. Let's make a new canvas. I'm just going to touch that plus sign at the top there, and I'm going to make paper size. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back out to the gallery, and I'm going to make it 8.5 by 11 or 8 by 10. So if I want to print it, I can. Paper size. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back out to the gallery. Okay, I'm getting a little feedback here, so. All right, let's have a little painting music while we're at it. And I think we've got our music started there, a little Harris Heller. Okay. All right, let's start off with an abstract landscape. I'm going to go in the landscape format, so just pinch that and turn it. I have a very squeaky office chair. Squeaky office chair. Okay, if you have questions as we go, just pop them in there, okay? Pop them in the chat, and I'll try to answer the questions as we go. I'll be doing more YouTube Lives with Procreate in the coming weeks, so make sure you subscribe and you'll get notifications on that. Okay, abstract landscape. We're going to start with a background color. So I'm going to just go right up here to my color, and I'll start with some blue, light blue, and I get my brush, and I'll go to acrylic. And let's just make that really nice and big, and we'll just fill that in. And of course, the more pressure that you put on the pen, the darker the color is going to be. I'm just going to lay that all down. I'm going to go back and get a little bit more color, maybe a little bit lighter. Just put that in there. Just our background. Now let's get the smudge tool. I like to smudge with the soft pastel. So I think that is in sketching. Yeah, soft pastel. I like to smudge with that. And just use the smudge tool. Soften those brush strokes. Now you can also pull in a reference photo if you want to. Just go up to the gear icon, tap on Add, and go to Insert a Photo. And that's going to bring up your camera roll. I'm going to bring in this image. That's going to insert it right into the piece that I'm working on. But if I want to use it as a reference image, let's tap, 2 fingers tap out of that. And let's go back over here and go to Canvas and go to Reference. And that pops up this window, and you can import an image. from your camera roll, and we'll grab this one. Now that image is on my desktop here, and I can move it around. My fingers don't want to work today for some reason. I can move it around, I can make it bigger, I can crop in, I can actually make the frame that it's in bigger if I could get my fingers to work there. So that you can have that just kind of next to you. Let's get a little smaller and have it to look at while you're working. So I think that sky is a little bit too green. So I'm going to go back over to color, go back to my brush, go back to color, and let's go a little more blue, less green. Yeah, that's going to look better. And I'm just going to lay that down, get the sky out of the way for a minute. Just going to lay that down. And then go back to my smudge tool and just soften those brush strokes. Just to give myself a background color. Let's get a little bit lighter blue. I'm going to lay some of that in up here. Just so you don't have a one-note background. And let's just leave that way. I'm not necessarily going to smooth out those brush strokes. They're kind of nice. Okay. Let's go over here. Let's get this guy. I want to make this a little smaller. And my fingers are not cooperating. So come on, I want you a little smaller. Well, I'll just leave it there then. Move this over. Okay, my next, oh, I didn't get the blue down here, did I? Let's just get that other blue. And get my smudge tool and soften that a little bit. There, so we have a kind of a nice background going there. Let's make another layer. And let's start, we'll start putting in some of this land here. We're going to stick with the acrylic brush that we have. Let's go to color wheel and let's get over in the dark range here. That's good. And just lay down. You can see the horizon line's pretty high there. So just lay that down. A little more pressure, make it a little darker. Whoops, you get over there. There we go. That's what I've been trying to do. There, perfect. Now it's out of my way. Okay. I'm going to just lay that all the way down. Let's go a little bigger with that brush. This is just my second layer here. Get a little bit lighter. Just lay down some different areas there. Get the smudge tool, soften that. One thing to remember too, when things are off in the distance like this is right here, they're going to be, the edge is going to be very blurry. It's not going to be a hard line at the horizon if you want to show distance. So soften that horizon there and it'll look like it's receding in the distance. Okay, let's come back with another layer. Always work in layers. I accidentally put 2 in there. Always work in layers because then if something goes terribly wrong, you can always just get rid of that layer and you don't have to ruin the entire painting. So now I'm going to pick up a little, let's make this a little bigger, so whoops, so I can see. Boy, my fingers just do not want to work tonight. Okay, so we've got greens. Okay. And boy, there. I'm just going to have to use the pencil. Got some greens, some gray greens. Got some really pretty colors there. So this layer, I'm going to go into the greens, the green range, some gray greens, and just lay in some, that seems pretty bright. Tap 2 fingers back. Let's go a little darker on that. And also a little smaller. That's better. There's less contrast there, but that's okay. We don't want a big jump in value right now. As I get closer forward, I'm going to go even more dark down here, this layer. And up here, I'm going to do one more layer. And I'm going to go almost to black. And my brush, I'm going to make my brush pretty small. I want a little bit up here that's pretty dark. Oops, you get over there. You know, I think I'll bring in the camera just a little bit because there we go, so you can see a little bit better. I just managed to get it out of focus, didn't I? Okay, that's a little better. All right. Now I'm going to smudge that a little bit. Soften that. Now we'll have another layer. This time we're going to go in with some brighter greens. Still not too bright though. Let's see how we like these. Still acrylic, smaller size. And actually I think I'm going to go back to this layer and do a little smudging here. Soften some of these areas. Okay. Now we'll go back to that new layer and we've got our brighter green. Let's lay in some of these shapes in the foreground. Just get the general gesture there. Let's make those a little bit bigger. Now go smaller as they recede back here. Get really small. So a few of them over here. Let's change over and have a little bit of an orangey color. About the same value, but a little more orange. Maybe almost a little bit more red. That's a little better, a little bit brighter. Tiny bits back here. And a little bit more green, a little bit brighter. And I'm going to switch over to a 6B pencil because I want to get a little bit more detail stuff going on here. So that'll give us a little definition. Let's pick up a little brown, some dark brown. Much darker green right here in the foreground. I almost can't see it in that photograph. And the music might be a little bit too loud, I can't quite tell. If you have questions, let me know. And the music might be a little bit too loud. Questions, let me know. Okay, we're done a little detail work here. Let's go and get a gray-green over here. Got a lot, oops, that's too bright. I like the color, but too bright. Let's go there. Yeah, that's better. I want to just put some texture in here, and then I can come back with a smudge tool and smudge with a 6B pencil and just soften those little areas there. Actually, let's smudge with the 6B. I made that a little bit bigger. That's better. Soften some of these. If you have questions, just put them in the chat. Okay, so we've got a little bit of that foliage going there, a little bit of that sort of cactus or juniper or pinon, sage, whatever it is. Let's put some more in the foreground. Let's see, let's go a little bit darker, almost black here in the foreground. And smudge that a little bit. Maybe I'll pick up the smudge with a soft pastel too, just to get a little softer there. Okay. Okay, I think we could use a little more work on our cactus there in the foreground. And let's go into, let's see, what do I have in organic? I do like Hessian, but it might be a little bit overwhelmed. Let's try twig. I'm going to give a little texture here, and I'm going to put that on the next, on another layer in case I don't like it. So let's see how we like it. Yeah, I do kind of like it. Let's change up the colors though. It's the one thing about those types of brushes, you have to really pay attention to the color. Otherwise, they do look very much like a formula. Let's go a little bit brighter green up at the top here. We'll change up the direction there a little bit. A little bit darker green at the bottom and a little bit smaller. Actually, let's go much darker at the bottom, almost black. And that seems to be working. Get a little bit of that bright orange over here. Oops, that's too much. Just a tiny bit right there. Not too much. I think that's too bright also. So I'm going to tap back out of that. And that. Let's mute that a little bit. That's better. Don't want to get carried away there. Just want to get the tops of these where the sun might be hitting back here, just a little bit. And then come back to that kind of ochre that we had here. A little bit more over here. Make these a little bit bigger. And darker down at the bottom. That's too big. Okay, we don't want to get carried away with that brush because it's easy to get carried away. Okay, finally, we've got one open layer here, and that's where we're going to do our clouds. The clouds are going to be fun. So to start those clouds, I'm going to lay down some purple. Pretty vibrant too. Let's see if that works. And we're going to go back to acrylic. And I want you to go over there. There. Okay, this layer, all right. We're going to, whoops, let's get bigger. Let's just lay that purple down. Don't have to worry about it going over the landscape because I can come back and I can use a mask or an eraser to take care of that. Also, I'm going to change the opacity on this layer. Make it less opaque. There we go. That's much better. Let's smudge that. Just really soft. Really, really soft. Good. That works. That works. Let's do a little bit of pink. Just a hint of pink. A tiny hint of pink. Got our acrylic brush. Let's just go like that. Just a little bit. Go back to the smudge tool. Smudge with soft pastel. Good. Now we get to do those great clouds. So that's going to be another layer. And I'm going to go into, I think I'm going to go into gouache for this because I want something really nice and opaque. And I really, let's see, I really want to look at the color of those. So I'm going to hold my finger. So we've got a nice yellowy white and then almost brown. Okay, so let's start with that nice white. Actually, no, let's start underneath. Let's start at the bottom of the clouds with that color. And I'm working in gouache, so it's going to be a lot more opaque. And I don't like that shape. So I'm going to make it just a little bit straighter. Okay, now I've got that laid down. That next color is kind of a golden. I'm just going to put that in. Smudge that. Oops, not that much. Just a little bit. Now I'm going to go to the top of the cloud. It's not white, it's yellow. So I will, actually I'm going to come in with, well, we'll start with gouache and see how it goes. Just lay that in. And let's go back and get a little whiter white on top of that. Okay, now I think the thing we need to do is Gaussian blur this layer. So that's why we've got that all in one layer right there. So I'm going to go to Adjustments, and I'm going to go to Gaussian Blur, and we're only going to blur that layer. So I'm going to just drag my finger across. Whoops, too much. I'm going to tap out of this and put it up here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, now I'm just going to drag my finger, Gaussian blur that a little bit, right about there, 7%. Yeah, that's good. Okay, we'll take that off. I think we'll get rid of our reference. Looking pretty good there. I'm going to put a little detail in that cloud, but I'm going to do it on another layer. So I'm going to go into this color that we just used, which was kind of a yellow. Let's go that red, reddish. Actually, let's go a little darker. And this is a new layer. And I'm just going to put a little bit of detail in that cloud, just give it a little bit of folds and things like that. And I'm going to do that with a 6B pencil because you can get a really nice little line there. And then I can go back with my smudge tool, make sure I'm smudging with a 6B pencil, and soften that. Really soften it. So you get a little bit of definition on that cloud. And I'm also going to blur that because that will work really well with the cloud. Let's have a little bit of that here underneath and smudge it a little bit. And I think smudge just a little bit with soft pastel, really small, because that gives us nice soft edges. That's pretty good. I don't think we'll overdo it. We'll just leave it there. And let's also go to that layer and go back to Adjustments, Gaussian Blur, and just a tiny bit of Gaussian Blur on that. Yeah, just a smidge. There we go. Perfect. Okay, well that's just a real quick little landscape, New Mexico kind of landscape, just a little bit. And I think before I leave, I'll go down to this layer here and smudge it just a tiny bit because these just look a little too perfect, a little too specific. You need to be softened a little bit. Just a tiny bit. Okay, well that's our New Mexico landscape. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Make sure you hit that subscription and also that notification, and I will be doing some YouTube lives with Procreate in the coming weeks, so make sure you hit that bell so you're notified. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you later.